Welcome to an episode of Chat Sports Talk, and welcome to Week 12, 2024 NFL season. And we're getting close to the end, per se. We have, 6 more weeks of regular season action, month and a half. A lot of things can transpire during that time frame. And we can see teams all of a sudden come out of nowhere to hit that hot streak at the right point in time and start that ascension up. Other teams injuries just take effect of them and they plummet. We've seen it time and time again. Who's going to beat this time? No one really knows. But looking back at last week, I'll cover those games quick fire succession. I'm not really going to highlight too many of the games. Kind of give an overview of what I did, and then we'll look forward to Week 12. So last week, my picks. I did extremely well. I was just winning almost everything. I had actually won Thursday night, which is a rare occasion. It's 2 weeks in a row now. In my early games, only lost one. And then the late afternoon games, I lost one. I lost a Sunday night game. So I am going 11-3 for the week, which is quite amazing. I would say so myself. So let's kind of go a quick fire succession. Last Thursday, we had the Commanders and the Eagles. This is close, like I thought it was going to be. Philadelphia definitely had a hard time getting going, but when they did, that's when Saquon Barkley pretty much took the team on his back. Utilized his leg power, almost 150 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns, and it's all it's needed as Philadelphia was able to move ahead and beat their division rival, Washington, 26-18. On Sunday, I was able to watch Chicago actually have a decent performance against Green Bay. Green Bay could not run all over them, and they set it up where Caleb Williams was driving down the field, and towards the end of the game, they let the seconds kind of tick away so they could kick a field goal without running another play because they had a timeout in their pocket. Run another play, try and get a little bit closer, maybe a little bit closer after that. They decided to stop there, kick the field goal, and in another week, a field goal block saved the victory for a team. Last week, it was Kansas City holding off beating Denver. This week, it's Green Bay holding off beating Chicago, beating them 20-19. Jacksonville goes in Detroit. Wasn't even close. Lions mauled the Jags 52-6. Minnesota heads into Tennessee. The Vikings struggled once again. And they still have Sam Darnold still coughing up the ball up 2 times. But the defense held. Minnesota itself was a little bit better. Will Levis had a better showing than Sam Darnold in this game. That says a lot. The running attack right now for Minnesota is kind of lacking, but Minnesota was able to escape Nashville 23-13. Raiders going to Miami, and Tua Tagovailoa over 280 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, as Dolphins rolled 34-19. Rams and Patriots turned out to be a lot closer matchup than I think a lot of people perceived. Drake May is starting to come up on his own in terms of the rookie quarterbacks. He's starting to really embrace the system and had good drives. I mean, they were up early on the Rams 7-0, but having Matthew Stafford on your team and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp just puts your team on a different level. And Stafford, almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, as the Rams are able to escape New England 28-22. James Winston took the Browns into New Orleans, a former stopping ground for him. And Taysom Hill decided to run for 3 touchdowns and almost 140 yards on the ground as the Saints just pulled away from Cleveland 35-14. A game that I predicted, Indianapolis head into the Meadowlands, take on the Jets. And Anthony Richardson had a late TD that had the Colts top the Jets 28-27. And a game that definitely had a lot of people scratching their heads about. Baltimore and Pittsburgh up there in Steel City. Pittsburgh could not score a touchdown. They had Justin Fields on the gimmick play when he ran, and he started his slide 2 yards short of the first down. But they ended up kicking 6 field goals. And Baltimore just couldn't really answer them. Derrick Henry was almost muted to this point. I mean, he had 65 yards on the ground and only 1 touchdown. But when Baltimore was able to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter and they were running a 2-point play, Derrick Henry was sitting on the bench. He wasn't in the play. I think if you had that type of weapon, you make sure he's there because that's something the defense has to worry about and gives you options. Lamar tried to scramble to his left. There was no one to throw to because no one moved. And 2-point failed. That was it. Pittsburgh held on to beat Baltimore without scoring a touchdown, 18-16. Atlanta goes into Denver. Bo Nix is starting to really thrive right now. Just think if they would have made that field goal in Kansas City, we'd be thinking differently about this team. But Bo had a little over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns in the air as Denver rolled over Atlanta 38-6. Head to Santa Clara with the Seahawks came to town take on the 49ers in a crowded NFC West right now. It's pretty much 3 teams are all right now at the end of this week are all 5-5. Arizona sitting on top. I think people had that reversed. But the Seahawks came in there, underdogs, and Geno was like, that's okay. Over 220 yards. He did have an interception. However, he scrambled for the game-winning touchdown in the final seconds of the game, beating the Niners 20-17. Game I didn't see coming. Over in Buffalo, Kansas City came to town. Josh Allen, 262 yards in the air, 1 touchdown. He also ran for 1. I mean, towards the end where it's getting close, he's like, it's a 4th down play. He just ran for it and getting in. The Chiefs couldn't really get anything going. The Bills' defense kind of stepped up to the plate. The Chiefs' offense was holding for a while, but then exhaustion kicked in, I believe. I mean, it was a close game at halftime, 16-14, and after the third quarter, you're like, this is going to come down to the wire. Anyone's game. That's where the Bills pulled away and won 30-21. Head out to SoFi where the Chargers were playing host to the Bengals, and I picked the Bengals to get a key win because Joe Burrow has been putting up phenomenal numbers, MVP-like numbers. Over 350 yards in the air with 3 touchdowns while he was getting sacked continuously. And he's still finding ways to get to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. The Chargers' offense was kind of muted a bit, except for that second quarter where they just exploded, and they were up 24-6 at half. It looked like a done deal. But Cincinnati started coming back in that second half, like they seem to do. They've always seemed to find ways to get themselves back in the game and just keep going, and it just wasn't really going their way towards the end as the Chargers were able to hold off a late Bengals comeback and beat them 34-27. And then Monday night, the Battle of Texas, which I knew wouldn't be close, but it was a lot closer than I think for most of the game that I thought it was going to be because it looked like Houston was just trying to give them the game. They couldn't really do much. I mean, in the early goings, it was pretty close. I mean, Cooper Rush had over 350 yards in the air and a touchdown. He had quite a few fumbles. One of the fumbles was hilarious. But Texans jumped up early, led by Mixon, who had over almost 110 yards on the ground with 3 touchdowns. They're up 14-0 after the first quarter. Dallas starts coming back. They're trailing 17-10 at the half. There's a play in that towards the end of the fourth quarter where Cooper Rush was got hit in the arm before the ball went forward, so the ball fumbled out. Lineman picked it up. He started running it. Ball got taken out of his hands, and another big man from the defensive line ran in for a touchdown. In the most crazy flow of events. But Texans proved to be the most dominant team in Texas and beat the Cowboys 34-10. Well, there you go. That was my week. As I said, 11-3, did extremely well. We'll see how we transpire in this upcoming shortened week before we get a full slate of game for next week. So week 12, we start things off Thursday night in Cleveland as the Browns play host to the Steelers. And I have a feeling the Browns are going to make this more of a game that could shock them like they did Baltimore. It just seems how this team works. They've kind of responded under Jameis Winston. You know, last week they just couldn't get anything going. And if Pittsburgh can get that running attack, going with Najee Harris, it can really help out and nullify Myles Garrett pass rush. And overall, I do think Pittsburgh should find ways to get in there, but with the opportunistic ways that Cleveland is, and the quarterback play of Russ and Justin Fields, I do think Cleveland will make this close. Right now, it's a 4-point advantage Pittsburgh. I do think it'll probably be like a 3-point advantage by the end of it, but I am picking the Steelers to win in Cleveland. Then Sunday, we start off once again in the Windy City as the Bears play host to the Vikings. And the way the Vikings have been playing, I've been tempted to go with the Bears, especially how last week transpired. How the Bears hung in there with the Packers, responded to their points by scoring points of their own, and had a drive to set up for a game winner. And Minnesota and Sam Darnold has started to go back to his old ways. He has 10 picks overall this season. But we have Justin Jefferson as your number one receiver. Makes it a little easier, and then your defense can still get in there and disrupt the opposing quarterback. It's one of the problems with the Bears. They do have guys that can step up and be number one. There's just no one's really taken over that role. J.J. Moore has been criticized for giving up on plays. Zone has dropped a lot of critical passes. Cole Kmet's been kind of injured. King Williams is also just an injury-prone individual, but he's providing that veteran leadership in that receiver core. And Caleb Williams, if he hangs on the ball too long, that spells doom, and that's part of the problem with that Bears offense, especially during a time frame when they weren't scoring any touchdowns, was the fact he was hanging on the ball way too long. Last week, it definitely he held it for half the time, from 5 seconds down to 2.5. It's phenomenal. And I think the Bears can do that again. However, I think it's just too many weapons on Minnesota to really account for. I'm rooting for the Bears. Of course I am. But I have to give it to Minnesota on this one. Head over to Indianapolis as the Colts play host to the Lions. And I'm almost tempted to go with the Colts on this one. But the way Detroit's been playing, they've been playing extremely well. Even with games that are close, they find ways to win. And Jared Goff right now is having the time of his life. Gibbs being phenomenal. He's close to being 4 yards shy of 800 yards. 8 touchdowns as well. So I think Detroit's going to find ways to get in there. I think Goff's going to find a few more interceptions getting tossed this game. He'll probably have 3 interceptions. Indianapolis going to find ways of doing that, but Anthony Richardson being a young quarterback will probably make a mistake that will cost a game, and Detroit's going to end up winning. Right now, the line's by 7. I kind of like that. I am going with Detroit. You get the Patriots heading down to Miami to take on the Dolphins, and Tua looked decent enough against the Raiders. Drake May has sparked some life with that New England offense. New England should make this a contest. But Miami's defense has really amped up. And I think that's going to be a key factor in this one, because Miami needs to keep winning to keep pace with Denver for that playoff spot, that final one. But as of right now, I am going with Miami. They're favored by 7. I'll probably push back a bit on the point spread. I'll probably go more 6, but I am taking the Dolphins. All right, Tampa Bay and the Giants coming off their bye with head-to-head over there at MetLife. And Daniel Jones lost his starting job on the bye week. And the Giants are going with the veto. I don't know how to take this one. I don't know how it's going to affect Malik Neighbors, because he's had some phenomenal numbers for games, and then he's been quiet. He's been missing. I don't think it's going to change the fact at all. I think Tampa Bay is going to have a good time. I think the Giants will end up scoring a few points. It's just because of the Giants and it's Tampa Bay. But I am getting to Tampa Bay. They are favored by 5.5, and I don't see any issues with that one. Then we head to D.C. as Commanders play host to the Cowboys. And if the Cowboys can muster the type of game they had against Houston, but actually put points on the board and not cough up the ball, I mean, they were dropping passes and just fumbles. It was just a terrible performance. But Commanders are going to be a different story. And I think Dane Daniels, if his minor injuries don't nag him too much. He does have some minor injuries, but he's pushing through it. Right now, Washington's favored by 10. I guess they have no faith in Dallas. I don't know why I'm calling Dallas. It's the Alice Cowboys. It's going to be it's the Alice Owlboys. They don't get to D.C. The D.C. belongs with D.C. I think it's just the disarray right now that they're in, going with the Commanders, and they're favored by 10. I'm not even questioning that. Now, Chiefs heading to Charlotte, licking their wounds. This is the battle of the barbecue. Which barbecue's better, KC barbecue or Carolina barbecue? I don't know, I kind of like Texas barbecue myself, but I'm a little biased. The Chiefs coming in there looking to bounce back from their upset as they perceive in Buffalo. But now they don't have the nagging thing of being going undefeated. Very few 72 Dolphins are left, and they popped the champagne bottle after the Buffalo game. They're like, hey, we're still undefeated, and it will always be. I think that's going to be a record that will stand the test of time. It will be a long, long time before that actually gets broken. The Patriots came close, but they lost it right at the Super Bowl. But back to this game, I think Kansas City is going to come out there looking to punch someone in the mouth. Carolina, you're next on the list. Chiefs, they're favored by 11. I see no quarrels in that either. The Titans organization returns to Houston. And that's where they started when they were once known as the Houston Oilers, to take on the Texans. And C.J. Stroud's kind of get a little bit better. He's starting to throw less touchdowns, more interceptions. Still has some decent numbers, but he needs to really get that back in the other direction. Will Levis will make this a game. He always does, but I am favoring Houston this one. They're favored by 8. I'm not going to push back against that one either. Houston. We head to Vegas as the Raiders play host to the Broncos in a key old-school AFC West showdown. The Raiders are going to play them tough. That's just how they play. The same thing with the Chiefs. Bo Nix is really starting to thrive under this system as well. So you look at some of the rookie quarterbacks of Caleb Williams, Jane Daniels, Bo Nix, and Drake May. Jane Daniels is up here. Unfortunately, Caleb Williams is down here. Drake May, and it should be Bo Nix and then Drake May. That's your top 4 rookie quarterbacks. where your 4 rookie quarterbacks ranked in that order. Should put it that way. Because you talk about rookie of the year, you got Malik Neighbors. Should be ahead of Caleb Williams. Probably be ahead of Drake May, too. Possibly. I mean, beside the point. But Bo Nix is really starting to thrive, really starting to blossom under the system. I mean, you saw that last week when they dismantled Atlanta. They're going to take on a little more ferocious defense. Max Crosby is a beast of a man to try to contain and limit his punishment on Bo Nix. He will meet in the backfield, introduce himself properly. Right now, Denver's favored by 5.5. I kind of like that because this will be a close battle because of just how these teams play each other. I am taking Denver. Then we're headed to Lambeau Field as the 49ers come to town, and a lot of people are saying a must-win game for the 49ers. I wouldn't necessarily put it as a must-win because they're only one game out of the playoff because of Arizona. But definitely they need this win to kind of keep in pace, otherwise they fall possibly 2 games back. And that's something you don't really need to do. The Packers look vulnerable against the Bears. If the 49ers can do the same type of offense but be a little bit more successful, which the 49ers have the ability to do, and their defense really steps up and stifles Jordan Love, I think that can happen. Right now, the line has it as Green Bay at 2.5. I'm going with the 49ers in this one. I think they can go into Lambeau and squeak out a 3-point victory, but I do believe this will be a good matchup between these two behemoths by him taking the Niners. And then we head over to Puget Sound as the Seahawks play host to the Cardinals, and the battle of the feathers and the birds determine the dominance of the NFC West. I mean, Seattle went to San Francisco and shocked the 49ers. Shocked me. I didn't think they were going to win in San Francisco. But Geno has been inconsistent. I can't really say inconsistent. But he has 11 touchdowns, 11 picks. Some bad throws thrown in there. A lot of good throws, a lot of bad throws. The defense stepped up against the 49ers. It'll be hard to try to contain Kyler Murray. And then also Marvin Harrison Jr. seems to be his favorite target as well. Connor's going to be a huge focal point of that Cardinals offense. Almost 700 yards with 5 touchdowns. So the Seahawks have to try to contain Murray and Connor in that backfield. The Cardinals can try to blanket. I mean, it's really hard to blanket some of the receivers because Smith and Job has really stepped up as the primary. You saw DK Metcalf and Lockett as well to worry about. So the receiving core for the Seahawks is top-notch. Geno Smith does make some erratic throws, which would help the Cardinals. I think that's going to be playing a factor in this one. Seahawks don't seem to play well in their den. Even though the line has the Seahawks by 1, I'm taking the Cardinals to win on the road to really step away from the rest of that Western Division. Then Sunday night, whoever the SoFi is, the Rams play host to the Eagles. And with this one, it is a interesting take on these two. Because Matthew Stafford has really blossomed now with his full receiving core. But the Eagles, ever since their bye, has been on a tear right now. And has faced some very potent offenses and be able to, survive, regardless of coaches' decisions on certain scenarios. That question, is he the factor in, or could be the Achilles heel, per se, for the Eagles season? But I think this one's going to really depend on how well the Rams can contain Saquon Barkley. He's already over 1,100 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. And Saquon's legs are going to be the key factor in this. Because if he can establish that run, then that will give Jalen Hurts the ability to escape and find ways, but he tends to find errant throws as well. Matthew Stafford, if the Georgia boys on defense cannot get back there and disrupt Stafford, he's going to find ways to hit his two receivers. Even if they do end up going back there, he's still going to find ways to hit those receivers. And that's just the way he is. But that Eagles defense really has to step up to the plate. This is going to be a big challenge for them. Right now, Philly is favored by 3. This one, I have battled back and forth which one I'm going to go with because right now, time of making this, as of right now, I don't have a winner because there's just too many things the Rams do that would stifle the Eagles. But if the Eagles can play up to what their potential is, the Rams are not even close. And that's part of the problem. The Eagles don't play to that potential. I'm taking the Rams at home. I don't know. This is one of these games that I have a feeling that it's going to be who makes the least amount of mistakes and which mistakes come at the wrong time. And I think that's going to be part of the problem is the Eagles are going to make a mistake at the wrong time. Or Rams will capitalize and end up winning. But I'm taking the Rams at home. Then Monday night, we stay at SoFi as the Chargers play host to the Ravens in the renewal of the Harbaugh Bowl. That's right, the brothers face off once again. And Baltimore's got coming over with a different game plan. And they really got to place more on Derrick Henry because right now he's also over 1,100 yards on the ground. So both Saquon and Derrick have really lifted up their team's playing style because of the running backs. Maybe that's why I picked these two to be my Super Bowl picks. But anyways, then you have Lamar Jackson, who's just Lamar and tries to do his best. Bosa is definitely going to be back there. I don't think Khalil Mack's going to be fully back, but they have another young cat that's really stepped up and been under the tutelage of Khalil Mack, has really made the press's notes last week against the Bengals. But trying to contain Henry and Jackson is going to be a difficult thing because you get one, you get the other one to worry about. So you do is like, okay, if you start blocking the run with Derrick Henry, you fake off the run to them. So the defense will go, oh, here's the run. Lamar goes on the bootleg. Hits Trey Flowers for a 10, 12-yard gain. Or Zay Flowers, excuse me. And that's what you have to look at. For me, the Chargers offense is not sustainable to be effective against Baltimore, I think. It's that this is going to be a defensive showdown, I do believe. These two defenses are pretty good. The Chargers withheld the Bengals, but they're going to have a difficult time against Baltimore's defense. And I think Baltimore is going to find more success on their end. But I like Baltimore winning on this one. Right now they're favored by 3. And I'm also going with the Ravens. Well, those are the picks. You have 6 teams off this week. So a huge amount. So less amount of games this week to really sink our teeth into. A little appetizer before the Thanksgiving weekend, where football is pretty much every day. Let's mix it up with the comments below. Which game do you think I got completely wrong? Do you think I could do another 3-loss week? I mean, I doubt it. I doubt my picks a lot of times because I just kind of look at the numbers. I kind of go with my gut feeling a lot of times. Sometimes it doesn't pay off. Like that Denver Kansas City game a couple weeks ago. That was close. It is what it is. But let me know down below. More mix it up, the better algorithm is. The YouTube algorithm that we pay homage to, worship to, that dictates our viewing pleasures here on this platform. If you like what I do, you like my ramblings, hit that thumbs up. Greatly appreciated. If you want to support this channel, You're going to do is subscribe. Doesn't cost you a dime. I love you guys. Do watch my video. Not many of you subscribe. Like I said, doesn't cost a dime. You just hit that subscribe button. Click that bell icon and turn on notifications. Let you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.